Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you are all well on this fantabulous Friday. Yes, that's it, baby. It's Friday, and it's May already. May. This year is moving with some pace. I'm telling you. And anyway, you're looking absolutely amazing. I must add, you must be having a good week, and I hope you have a good weekend. But we're going to get straight into the meat and potatoes because this video it's come off the back end. Someone tagged me in a video, and I will put the link to that video in the description of this video so you can go and watch it and see what you think yourself. But it's with respect of the Idaho 4 case. And look, a lot of people think Bryan Kohberger did this crime, and look, he might have done it. He might have done it. The biggest bone of contention for me when it comes to did Bryan Kohberger do this crime is they haven't proven that he was at the crime scene yet. And prosecution, law enforcement seem to suggest that they're struggling with that in terms of the phone data and everything else. I can tell you where he was in all of these other instances and try and push out a stalker narrative, either saying how he went from Washington to Moscow, Idaho on 20 plus occasions. But yet, on the night of the crime, they are doing something simultaneously, and that is trying to lead you to believe that the absence of evidence is evidence. We can't prove that he was here because his phone might have been switched off, but then withholding information that they very likely have in terms of time advance reports for Bryan Kohberger's phone that was very, very likely captured during a 3,800 phone dragnet operation, if you like. But look, we'll see what happens. We'll see if Sahara can further come forward and provide evidence of what he has suggested is going in here and back up his claims against Ashley Jennings. But look, this is what someone said. They turned around and said, and look, Steve Gonsalves had even spoken about this in a recent interview that he did over on the Drunk Parrot show or whatever it is. And he was talking about the interest, or it might have been with Ashley Butfield, actually. He was talking about the interest that that Kaylee had and the family has in true crime prior to all of this kicking off. It was something that she was passionate about, true crime and getting involved, and like you are right now, and like I am, had a penchant for the macabre and looking into things and seeing whether you can figure out what is going on. And someone brought something up, and they said, "Hold on a second." There could be a connection with the Kiely Rodni case here. Now, I can't because I haven't done any deep diving into it. And again, the link to the video will be pinned in the description of this video. But they're saying that there could potentially be a link between the Idaho 4 case and the Kiely Rodni case. And again, let me just premise this by saying I can't offer that any credibility whatsoever. However, when you consider if Bryan Kohberger didn't do this crime, then someone else could have indeed done this crime. Now, there are several different things that we have toyed with. Was this fight that happened at the frat house something that spiraled out of control? I've told you about my own experiences with people who have sadly been taking steroids and the effect that that can have on them. And, we've also recently heard Steve Gonsalves seemingly make a Freudian slip about not being able to speak to someone who's out of the country, which you know where that's going to point the fingers at. But with respect of a motive for an individual, there would be no better motive for this killing apart from narcotics and frat fights than was Kaylee getting too close to uncovering something sinister in one of these crimes. If she indeed was doing deep dives and going as deep in some of these as what people can, because you start turning over people's lives. Steve had even stated in this interview that he had kind of been a little bit standoffish, a little bit concerned about the depths that were likely happening, because he would say that you're talking about someone's family, a family member, a mum, a child, a daughter. Do you know what I mean? It's so something was going on there enough for him to be a little bit cringe about it. But so if we look back to the Kiely Rodni case, The Kiely Rodni case, for those of you who didn't follow it, maybe you came into, especially on this channel, you've found me in the aftermath of Kiely Rodni case, and likely when I've been covering Liam Payne or the Idaho 4 case. But before the Idaho 4 case, before Liam Payne, we had the likes of Summer Wells case, Michael Vaughan case. We also had some other bits and pieces we spoke about. But one of the main bulk of information and videos that I certainly did was on this case, the Kiely Rodni case. Kiely Rodni was a young girl. She was 16 years old, and she would die. She died during a party, apparently, and how she would die has been a fucking mystery, because it would seem that she just got in her car and drove her car into a body of water. A body of water that it would eventually transpire that she was literally about 50 feet away from the edge of the water. We would then see footage that would seemingly depict her car driving into the water and other cars behaving strangely, like almost like they're driving up and down the beach. And in the aftermath of everything, we have learned so much and there has been so many people affected by the Kiely Rodni case. But one statement that was made off the back end of when Kiely was found was this: it reeks of foul play. Diver who found California teen Kiely Rodni submerged in her car doubles down on claim her death is suspicious because body was in the back seat when two windows were open. Kiely Rodni, 16, went missing on August 6th after a party at Prosser Campground. Now, if we go through some of these, this party, seemingly the people who were there, because very quickly Kylie's friend took over the investigation. It was almost like you couldn't go to law enforcement, you had to go to Kylie's friend. And those of you who followed it, you will remember Sammy very, very well. She was almost telling people, if you've got any information on this, you come and speak to me before speaking to anybody else. It was just some real weirdness. And off the back end of that, we saw the collapse of Jared Lysack's life, and seemingly that came off the back end of Adventures with Purpose digging into the Kiely Rodni case, because there was 19,000 man hours. Now, nobody apparently knew where Kiely was. There was even a tow truck driver, Nick, who came forward, and he would say, I spoke to Kiely. She was heading in that direction, which would then lead the Adventures with Purpose team over to that area. They would then come back to where this entire story began to be told, no, you don't need to search here. We've already searched here. Move along. This is law enforcement, by the way, telling the dive team, no, you can't search here. We've already searched here. But Doug Bishop turns around and says, well, hold on a second. I haven't searched here. Now, if I haven't searched here, then it ain't been searched. And he enters the water, and within 30 minutes, he has found Kiely Rodni. Kiely Rodni in a car, in the back of the car, in a car where the windows are open, and she is deceased. Now, is it beyond the realms of possibility? Is it beyond the realms of possibility that you have a situation where, and I'm not saying that there is a link. What I'm saying is there is a motive somewhere in amongst all the Idaho 4 case and whatever happened to these individuals. It happened for a reason. Now, it could just be that some fucking maniac decided to enter this house for no apparent reason whatsoever and just went and killed everyone. But there's still a reason there. There's still a motive. There's a motive somewhere, and it might be a motive that never ever transpires. We never ever learn about. But so many people had been affected by the Kiely Rodni case and seemingly had their worlds turned upside down. Even Ryan Upchurch. Now, Ryan Upchurch did, along this sort of Kiely Rodni case, made some statements that were going to rub people up the wrong way. He also said some very, very real things that needed to be said, what a lot of people didn't say. But yeah, he did cross over at one point he said something that was a little bit out of line, and I called him out on that. But I've got a lot of love for Ryan. Absolutely brilliant guy. He's got a heart of gold. But in terms of, is there ever a case that has happened that seemingly has a similar feel to it, where there is potentially powerful people, rich people, who were involved in the covering up of a situation, whether that be that people knew what had happened to Kiely and they didn't help her, they lied about it. They hid their involvement in it. I don't know, but it just reeks of that. The Kiely Rodni case reeks of a situation where there was individuals around that, likely some of her friends, that knew something that had happened. They knew what had happened to her, and they lied about it and covered it up to this day. Now, could it have been that Kaylee was indeed looking into the Kiely Rodni case? Had she found something or heard through the grapevine something that had led her down a road of discovery that was getting too close? It's, I'm putting it out there because somebody had reached out to me off the back end of this video and said, "What do you think?" And I'm telling you what I think. I think that Kaylee Gonsalves and the rest of the victims of the Idaho 4 case, they died for a reason. But there seems to be, with respect of Kaylee, there seems to be a massive amount of rage, and time spent on her. And, I don't understand. I don't understand what happened there. Maybe she took the brunt of it because she tried to protect Maddie. It's more than possible. Is it beyond the realms of possibility, as aforementioned, that she was getting too close to a crime or something? Was she looking into something specific in the area of Moscow, Idaho? Let me know down below what you think. I'll catch you all in the next one.